is this a time where we really need to get more disciplined about how our day looks like? As an example, the time that we wake up, being in meditation a couple of times a day, making sure that we're not wasting our time in distraction and scrolling and doing things that are numbing our senses. So can you talk on that topic?
We would be much of the joiners to be speaking of this other topic. And one of the aspects that you are being of the missing is that even in of the question, you are being noticing of the busyness. This is a very busy of the question. Busy question, busy question. There were many aspects you are bringing into of the question, and this is part of what you be thinking of the issue. Because you are not of the understanding and of the clarity of what you are calling of the discipline. Because on the one of the aspects, this is much of the importance when you are thinking of the consciousness. And one of the aspects we have been of the speaking is of the expanding of the consciousness.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Galactic Guidance. Whilst you were having this reflection time by the river alone, well, not alone, you're with your family, but, disconnected from anything Wi-Fi, did anything drop in terms of insights for you for the beginning of the year?
To be able to receive, you have to be. And so it was kind of interesting, and that had a bit of a sort of profoundness for me because we get very caught up in doing, constantly sort of doing, and it's almost like with everything that goes on, we're trying to receive while we're in motion, while there's motion, this engine of society and self and whatever, trying to make ends meet or whatever it is, continues to roll. And the message was sort of, really clear about, okay, if you really want to receive more, then you need to be more. Just to be, stop for a minute and connect in at that level, and just to be with yourself. It was it's sort of easy to do by the river because there was nothing there except me. And I would be up at 5 a.m. and everyone else is asleep, and so I go and sit by the river and just tune into the frequency and the resonant field and everything around the river. And I was just asking questions of Ameed. We were just having a conversation, and I was talking about what we ended talking about last year, which is we want to get this out to the world more, and to do that, just have to be more open and honest and real about it and share it on personal pages and let the world know, right? And so I was just sort of talking about those sort of things, and that message of be, receive, do was sort of really strong for me, and it had again, it might be obvious to people who are listening, of course you've just got to be, and it's very easy to sort of say that, but it's another thing to sort of connect into what that truly means. So that you can allow the receptivity and the information and the truth and the realities to sort of, permeate through. And as I've stepped into this year, just watching all of the things unfold, that were left over from last year, drone stuff, and now this fog stuff, and there's things that are happening on the planet. And to be able to, and as you mentioned before we started this, it's all distraction, and I agree, there's lots of distraction playing out. And the only way to get around that and to know exactly what's going on and what's really happening and receiving the truth is to be, and just to stop for a minute and just be in the presence of it, and let go of all of the vibrations that cause disharmony and cause destabilization. And a lot of this connected stuff causes these very subtle disharmonic vibrations within us, and that gives us a level of a background level of anxiety that sort of plays out in our lives, that's almost always there, and I don't think you realize how much of it's there until you stop. and all of a sudden that goes. So the being is to be able to get away, outside of that, or to move away from that little level of destabilized sort of frequency that sits in the background, that's being created in the background. And in its most gross effect, it'll have you feel in fear, right? So a lot of things that play out in media, as we know, are fear-based sort of exercises that keep us in fear, that keeps us distracted, but also keeps us hooked in. It's always, the famous lines that they always say is, this is urgent and this is important and this is, oh my God, and this is happening and that's happening and and these things keep us in fear, which keep us trapped. But apart from that, if you've learnt how to let go of that and not watch the media or believe it or get caught in it, the next level is this little background sort of anxiety radiation thing that plays out in our society. And it's really subtle, and you don't necessarily recognize it till something sort of big happens and you sort of then go into deeper anxiety or fear. But it's just this little, I don't know, thing that sits in the background. So the being thing is to go beyond that. So it's not just about, be, omni, 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 be. It's really, the be is about beyond. Go beyond that background radiation, that background vibration, destabilization that's
So
playing out.
tell me this, Marcus. So how will you do that? Because I've known you for a very long time,
You
and
have.
you've always been busy. Like, you've always
Always.
been an action taker. You've always been
Mm,
super busy. You've
mm.
always these sort of realizations have sort of come to you regularly, and and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
aware. You've
Yeah,
always been
totally.
aware of it, but you still
Totally.
seem, from an outsider's point of view, to
Yeah.
be really busy. So how is that going to
Yeah.
change? Will it change? Have you decided it's going to change? How will it change in a practical way for
Yeah.
someone who's
I,
got a large
absolutely.
community and
Yeah, yeah.
has a lot of events and has a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
activities going on, and it's a
Yeah,
container that you're always present for. So how are you
it
going to
is.
do that?
So the interesting thing about it, and I think the shift that I took from that, is one of um, almost like not having to do it, but doing it because either trying to get ends to meet, move ahead from that personal point of view, um, that keeps you hooked into the system, right? And that keeps that low level of anxiety playing out, which eventually can lead to disease and all sorts of stuff that we know. The difference this year is that part of the busyness for me is that I've got a big mission and I want to deliver on the mission, right? And I want to share as far as possible. But rather than do it from an anxiety state, which makes me look busier than probably what I am, because the often comment I get from people is, "Oh my God, you're so busy, you're so busy," which it isn't always the truth, right?
Mhm.
It isn't always the truth that I'm flat out busy and I'm working 24 hours a day or 22 hours a day, which might seem that way, right? Um, it's that vibration, that anxiety vibration, background vibration that makes it look like I'm crazy busy, because it's a feeling, not because when people look at you in your community or out in social media land, they don't actually know how busy you are. Like, no one's watching me every day going, oh my God, he got up at 5 and didn't stop working until 10 that night, and every moment of that day was full, right? So it's actually not a reality, it's a vibration that they're feeling into. And the vibration is that background anxiety, and that anxiety is tied up with a whole lot of things. It's tied up with, I want to deliver on a mission. There's lots of things I want to share and do and create. But there's also that survival type thing that happens. And I have had this fear vibration that's run in my life for most of my life. And that fear vibration is intertwined with the background anxiety vibration, and that makes me look incredibly busy.
Mm.
So this year, and what I got from the B exercise, right, was exactly this, right? Beyond that, letting go of that, and really falling into the trust more, and being aligned more, and faith, and just the deeper knowing, right?
Mm.
That in any moment I've got this incredible connection to these incredible beings. Why would I ever be worried about anything?
Exactly.
Like, if I have a question, I just go, what? I don't know the answer. I'm lost. I'm confused, whatever it might be, right? Help. And
Yeah.
it's been the same with money and any of that sort of stuff. Any time I've gone into that anxiety of money, right, which is an old pattern of mine, and you're well aware of that. We've worked together long enough to know, you know, and I have turned to them and I've said, Ameed, I don't know what to do. I need help, right? Because I'm worried about this. Stuff turns up just like that. Like
Mm.
Ameed will say something to me, right? Okay, what do you need? I'll go, I need, I don't know, $5, $10, $10,000. Bang, bang, turns up, shows up every single time. Anytime she tells me something like, here's how many people will be in your next program, here's how many people, exact number, exact
Mm.
number. Even if I've sat there and gone, nah, I don't think I even believe that. There's no way. No. Exact number it hits, right? And even when it gets to the point, like what often happens, and this is a classic example, right? When we do an invitation to people to come into the program, I'll tune in and I'll ask, okay, so how many people will come into the program? And she'll go, 40. And I'll go, okay, holy moly, really? She's like, 40. We'll get to, because of my little background thing that I've had, we'll get to like a week out from it starting and we'll have 38. And I go, well, that's fantastic. I mean, close enough, good enough, right? Yeah, fantastic, no problem. And I've rung everybody, I've spoken to everybody, and there's no one left, theoretically. Just within days, two people show up, just bang, and the number absolutely hits. And I'm like, okay, I need to have more faith and more trust and more like, because every time. And so again, what I got from being away is more than just, be omni, meditate, which is still important, but it's a bit, yeah, it's about that beyond that disharmonic, that background vibration that you don't recognize until you sit by a river and do nothing.
Mm.
So I think that's the difference. So there's still a lot of things I want to do for sure, but I think it's also about letting go of that vibration that makes you look busy or makes that feeling of busy, um, and then focusing on what matters most.
Mm.
And that's a guidance thing as well and a trust thing because there's a logic brain that steps in and the logic brain says, oh, yes, if you do 2 hours work, you should get, $2 and 10 hours and 10, right? Whereas it's like, okay, what do I need to do in this moment? Where am I being called? Even if it doesn't make logic sense,
Mm.
even if it's like something that I go, but that doesn't make logic sense. But that's where
Mm.
you need to be in this moment. Just be there. And when you remove that background radiation or that background vibration, then you can let go to that and you can just be because you just have total faith and trust that, and I think this is one of the blessings and I think one of the positives that came about with religion, and what religion was part of what religion was trying to tell us, which is to have faith and trust. Whether you call that God or the universe or Ameed or, do you know what I mean? It's like, and really it's not about having faith in an external being. It's about having faith and trust in yourself that you'll be, everything's provided, everything, you need, you can call in and
Mm.
allow to manifest. I think a lot of our lack of manifestation is us getting in the road. It's actually not that there's not abundance out there. It's actually not that there's not enough. It's actually not that you don't have the ability. It's actually that we interfere with the natural flow of it and we get in the road. And we get in the road either with disbelief or, that disharmonic vibration that we get caught in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay. So that's
sorry, that was a long answer to a short question.
it's good. It's really feeling into the energy of what you're saying. which is, it's beyond the be. It's the energy of busyness, the energy of
Mm,
distraction, the energy of just
mm,
allowing, the energy of just receiving. So
yeah,
it's more than just
yeah,
the words. It's beyond the words, you
yeah.
know.
It's beyond, and it's tuning
Mm.
into that frequency, that vibration. And I actually did a meditation this morning with a group, and we were talking about creating or having our goals or dreams or desires materialize and manifest for the year. And it's kind of interesting. I was guided to do this exercise sort of while I was away, and when I put something into my consciousness, like I want to run a live event or something, or I to finish a book, or I did this body scan and I could feel where the disharmonic vibration was. And
Mm.
again, it's the subtlety, not the grossness of the fear of writing a book or the fear of running a live event if you've never done it, blah, blah, blah. But it was just this disharmony within the body. And it was like, okay, that's interesting. So then it was just about clearing that disharmony and bringing it back into alignment and stability without having to know what the disharmony is. Is it fear? Is it something happened when you were a child? Is it blah, 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 right? It was none of that. It was just like, okay, let's just deal with the vibration that is here. Let's not
Mm.
worry about where it came from or how it manifested, or let's just reharmonize, restabilize, and align back into the truth of who you are. And that clears a way for these things to materialize.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, that
Beautiful.
was one of the insights. So,
Love it. Love it. Okay.
yay.
So how
All
about we
right.
call in Ameed, who you have
Yeah,
referenced in your previous discussion, and
we can do
she
that
is your beautiful higher dimensional being that you do your spirit mentor that you connect with and you ask the questions. So
all the time.
I'd love to be able to ask her a question today.
Sure. Let's do that. So, uh, oh, you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Sorry. I just to share something funny. It might just be funny for you and I, not necessarily for everybody. But we were talking last year about sharing this more on our personal pages or my personal page, and I don't share any
Mm.
of this on my personal page. I have up until this year. I'm prefacing it already. Not really shared it on my personal page where my family is and friends and old acquaintances. I keep it to my group. I keep it to YouTube, and I know that's people could find me on YouTube, but they're not necessarily going to look for this per se. Anyway, we were up. I was up by the river, and I was there with my brother and his family, and I was there with one of his school friends, who was one of my friend's brothers. So school friend, very old friend. And we arrived and we parked where we were going to camp, and he ran over from the fire because they were there before us. So he ran over and he goes, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you." I go, "Oh, great. Yeah, good to see you too." And and he goes, "You've been doing something I've been wanting to do for years." And I go, "Oh, what's that?" He goes, "The channeling." I go, "Oh," sort of a bit like, "Oh God," right? And he goes, "Yeah, I've been watching your channeling." And he said, "I've been part of a channeling group for 15 years, and I've been wanting to channel." And he goes, "I don't know you channel. Oh my God, we've got to talk. We've got to." And he watches this show.
There
So
you go.
shout out, shout
There
out
you
to
go. So
to
it's
Mark,
just
and it
that
was a
is
really beautiful experience.
there you
It
go
was
because
lovely.
you imagined that that person belonged to this group.
That's
But
right.
yet we're all moving, we're all changing, we're all evolving. And then if you don't put it out to this group, how will you connect
Uh,
to the
but I
people
never
who
knew he was into channeling. Never in a million years I would have ever thought that. And we've camped together. Last year we camped together because he's one of my brother's best friends. We camped together last year, and we've hung out every now and then, and never would have guessed it. And it was just kind of this. It was really beautiful considering we left off last year talking about exactly that. And it was like, wow, if that isn't a sign, I don't know what is, like, wow, that's
exactly,
kind of cool. So anyway,
exactly like
thought that
worlds
was funny.
colliding.
Worlds colliding. And yeah, more of that's happening right now, which is kind of exciting. So,
And so what Marcus is doing now is he's just connecting into his spirit mentor, Ameed, who is a physical being from an advanced planet. And if you want to hear how Marcus started to channel Ameed, you need to go back to episode 1 of Galactic Gardens, where he talks about the whole incredible, magical, miraculous story. And the wonderful thing is that we get the opportunity to ask questions and to converse with a being on an advanced planet. So what an opportunity this is.
Much of the joyness, being this sacredness of the moment. We are much in of the celebration, for you are in of the solar cycle, and we are understanding that you have much of the celebration at this a moment of the timescape. We are much of the joyness to be here in this of the moment. Miss Eleni is much of the specialness. We have been on being of the joyfulness of watching you be experiencing much of the love over this much of the period. We have been seeing you much of the connected, and we have been watching you are being in the joyfulness of much of the loveness of the connected. We are much enjoying watching all of you be in of the joyness of the moment, and we are being wishing that you are being in of this joyness in every moment of the everyday, not just in one part of the solar of the cycle, but in this of the joyness, in this of the loveness, in this of the connection, in of the every moment. This is one of the aspects we are being much of the confused about with of the human nature, is that you are making sure you are spending much of the joyness and of the happiness at the what you are be calling of the special of the moments. But what you are not of the understanding is that every moment is of the special of the moment, and therefore you should be in of the joyness in every of the moment. But you are not doing this as of the muchness. You are waiting for of the special times, and this is of the niceness, because you are understanding the connection to the sacredness. But when you are being in of the expansion, when you are being in of the awakened of the consciousness, you will be understanding that every of the moment is of the joyness, and then you will be in of the celebration in every of the moment. This is much of the funness. This is much of the joy.
What a beautiful message. I love that message, Ameed. It's not just about special moments, special days, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, holidays, that we need to be in the joy of the moment. It needs to be the way we live, which leads me to my question, actually, Ameed,
Mm,
to you today,
mm,
because where we are, usually at this time of year, at the beginning of the year, there are many reflections where people are considering the choices they've made in the past and whether they want to continue to make those choices in the future. They're thinking about how to make their life more joyful and more expansive. And for many of us, how do we quicken the process of fully stepping into our purpose work and so on? What changes do we need to make? And one thing that keeps appearing up for me is the word discipline, which seems to be, at face value, it seems to be in conflict with what you've just said about having joy in every moment. And it seems to be in conflict with flow and just going with the flow, enjoying what you need to enjoy. But I keep hearing the word discipline, which feels like, no, there needs to be discipline as well, because with discipline comes consistency and commitment, and with consistency and commitment, the universe reflects back to you what it is that you actually want to receive from your time here on earth. So there seems to be like there's a bit of a contradiction, and then there isn't. So I really would love you to speak to, you know, is this a time where we really need to get more disciplined about how our day looks like? As an example, the time that we wake up, you know, being in meditation a couple of times a day, making sure that we're not wasting our time in distraction and scrolling and doing things that are numbing our senses. So can you talk on that topic?
we would be much of the joyness to be speaking of this other topic. And one of the aspects that you are being of the missing is that even in of the question, you are being noticing of the busyness. This is very busy of the question. Busy question, busy question. There are many aspects you are bringing into of the question, and this is part of the what you be thinking of the issue, because you are not of the understanding and of the clarity of what you are calling of the discipline. Because on the one of the aspects, this is much of the importance when you are thinking of the consciousness. And one of the aspects we have been of the speaking is of the expanding of the consciousness. One of the aspects that you are not being of the understanding, or not yet being of the understanding, that we would wish to be of the sharing, is that how much of the wonder, and how much of the, we want to be saying of the control, but this is also not of the rightness of the word, but how much of the power you have with of your consciousness. What you will begin to be of the realizing as you shift into the next dimension of the reality scape is just how much of the powerfulness your consciousness is having of the ability, how much of the power and of the control is contained within of the consciousness. You will begin to be of the understanding that you can be shifting matter of itself just with of your consciousness state. You are sometimes wondering, where does of the what you're calling of the UFOs are coming from, and how are they able to be coming from many different parts of the galaxy in this of the moment? And we would tell you that it is consciousness that is driving these aspects of the reality scape. If you are thinking of the UFO phenomena, if you are thinking of the vehicles that we are being traveling in, what you will begin to understand is that we are being controlling these of the vehicles through of the consciousness state. Consciousness is the most of the powerful energy in of the universe. It has the ability to call in even of the alchemical state to be a creating of the matter itself. You will be finding that consciousness can move of the matter. Therefore, when you are talking about of the discipline, yes, you are correct. There are two parts to of the discipline. One part is when you are being of the thinking, you are thinking discipline is, I've got to be much in control of the self. I've got to be monitoring everything that I am being of the doing and being of much productivity as possible, that I must be controlling my state and I must be containing myself. And when you are speaking like this, you can feel the disharmonic vibration that is being created. You can feel the tension that is being created when you think of discipline in this of the ways. So you are much of the correctness that it seems that discipline has two of the focal points. If you are thinking about it from the mental aspect, from the third density construction, then it is much of the stiffness, it is much of the containment, and it will not allow you to be expanding into the infiniteness of potential. It will keep containing you within the third density reality, and therefore it will hinder your ability to be in of the expansion. But when you are thinking of the discipline from a consciousness point of view, you will be able to see that it is much of the assistance. It will actually help to propel you and to help you to expand much more of the quickenness. Because of the discipline is being of the focused, being of the awareness, much more in of the beingness that we were, that your channel was a being of the talking about, that we shared with him by of the river. This beyondness, this much more deeper version of the beingness that you have been spoken about many of the times by many of the sages that have existed here on the planet. This of the beyondness is taking what you are thinking of discipline and applying it to of your consciousness state. One of the reasons that you are living in of the third density state is that you have not been of the mastership of the consciousness state. As you move into the next of the density state, you will need to be much more what you are thinking of in control of your consciousness state. Therefore, the discipline that you are referring to is a consciousness of the discipline. And it is not so much of the discipline like you are thinking when you are being in of the analytical nature of reality, but much more being of the awareness. So we could be replacing the word of the discipline to the word of awareness. and bringing about of the awareness to where your consciousness is being of the focus, but wherever your consciousness is being in of the thought process, and bringing much more of the awareness to it, be in of the beyond when you are thinking about of the consciousness. So when you are thinking about of the discipline, you are thinking about of the awareness and being of the letting go of the discipline of the third density nature, because you are correct. You want to be in of the flow state. You want to be in of the following of the energy. You want to be moving with the flow of the river. Not necessarily be swimming against of the river or trying to be swimming along the side of the river or across the river. You want to be allowing yourself to be flowing with the energetic nature of the reality scape. Because at the deepestness of the truth, there is a river that is running of the through you. This river that is running of the through you is what you might be thinking of as your mission, the reason that you are becoming here in this of the moment. All of you were standing there on the edge of the veil, and you are looking in at this density state, and you are saying to yourself, I will be volunteering to come down and be of the assistance to help in of the expansion and of the evolutionary nature of this time in this of the moment. And you are much of the enthusiasm to be putting of your hand up. But when you are being here, you are being caught in of the third density nature, and you are spending much of your time being in of the remembering. And this is just part of the remembering. So when you are thinking about of the discipline, be thinking about more of the discipline as in of the awareness, being disciplined in of your consciousness, where you are being of the focused, what you are allowing in, what your resonant frequency is, what you're allowing to affect that resonant frequency, how you are stable or destabilized, how you are resonating in a harmonic or disharmonic state. And knowing that in this of the conscious state, you can shift or change any of these states to be as you wish them to be. This is of the discipline that you are being of the talking about. This is of the flow discipline. This is of the expanded consciousness of the discipline, which is what we would much be calling of the awareness state, not so much of the discipline. Because you're in your third density reality, discipline has much of the harshness, it has much of the containment, it has much of the shrinkingness. Whereas when you are thinking about of the awareness, you can be in much more in of the expansive state. So this is what we would be asking you as you are replacing of the discipline with the word of the awareness, and be much of the awareness of your consciousness state, and then be much in the choosing. So when you are bringing of the awareness to your consciousness state, then you have the ability to be of the choosing where you wish to be placing of the consciousness state. And from that position, then you can be taking of the action. You can be taking of the direction. You can be deciding how you are wishing to use each of your timescape. And here you can be much more in of the joyness. You can be much more in of the flow. This is of the discipline that we would be of the sharing with you and be of the talking with.
Yes, that makes sense. Because just the energy and the frequency of the word discipline is different, very different to the energy and frequency of the word awareness. So it's about being aware of where we are directing our attention to and our focus to.
You are of the consciousness. You will be learning to be much more empowered in of your consciousness state as you are shifting in of the dimensional realities, as you are shifting in of the densities. You are being given more access to more of the consciousness state. Therefore, you are able to be of the materializing and of the manifesting and the much more of the quickness. But with that becoming of the responsibility, as you be gifted the ability to be much more of the quickening, to be able to be much more in the calling in of the alchemical state, to be of the materializing all of the aspects you are wishing to be of the materializing, as this is in of the quickening state. Because when you are shifting in of the expanded density realities, these things can be materializing much more of the fastness. There is much more of the responsibility as you are able to as you are able to connect into this state. There is much more of the responsibility. Therefore, your idea of the discipline is of the correctness, but we would much be preferring you are calling this of the awareness, so that you are keeping of the connection to the reality that you are being in of the creating.
Okay. Okay, so is there anything at all that you would like to add at all? The people listening to to these episodes are likely, um, light workers who really are here to help with the evolution of human consciousness. Is there anything that they need to know at this time on the planet?
Mm. One of the most of the important aspects, as you are here to be assisting in of the expansion of consciousness, to be here in of the evolution into the next dimension of the reality scape, is to be of the maintaining and of the managing your own of the consciousness state, being learning how to be in of the expansion of the consciousness state, being much more of the awareness of the consciousness state, and you beginning to be of the realizing that every particle of the consciousness state is a created particle. Every time you have being of a consciousness on something, you are changing that of the something. Even of your, what you are calling of your quantum of the physicists, they are being of the understanding that when you are being in of the observing, you are affecting everything around the observation. Every time you are focused of your consciousness, you are shifting the universe in and of itself. Every time you give of the focus, you are changing of the atoms and you are changing of the molecules and you are changing everything at a quantum state. Therefore, you are in of the learningness, you are in of what you are calling of the kindergarten, of the consciousness state, learning how to be in of the awareness, be in of the control, be in of the what you are calling of the positive manipulation of your consciousness state. You have the ability to move off the mountains. There was even of the writing talking about moving off the mountains, and this is of the truthness, because when you are focused of your consciousness, when you are empowered in of your consciousness, you have the ability to be moving off the mountains. This is much as a metaphorical as it is of the reality scape. And you are learning of this, and we are here to be helping you in of the teaching of this. And there are many that are here to be of the teaching of this. Even you, Miss Eleni, are here to be of the teaching of this. And in some of your conversations, you are teaching how to be of the splitting of the ego state with the consciousness state, and how to be moving past that construct of third density reality and moving into a five density reality evolutionary state. And what you will be finding is consciousness is of the key to this aspect, being able to be in of the awareness state, be in of the control state, to be harnessing, which is much more of the betterness of the words than control, but be of the awareness and of the harnessing of the power of your consciousness reality. It's how beings of the highly evolved nature, beings like us, can be traveling through time and space, through of the consciousness harnessing allows us to travel through all time and all space, because you will be understanding that you are not at the mercy of time and space. Time and space is at the mercy of you. You will be realizing that the quantum state, atoms and of the molecules, you are not of the mercy of atoms and the molecules. The atoms and the molecules are at the mercy of the you. That you are the centerpiece of the aspects of this, and they are working for you. You are not working for them. And sometimes you are thinking that you are working for your atomic state, your atoms and of your molecules, because they are working in the background without you being fully of the awareness of it. But in actual fact, you are not at the mercy of them. They are at the mercy of you. Therefore, just within of this, of the statement, it says that you have of the controlness, you have of the ability to harness all aspects of the physical and of the quantum realities. This of the next of the solar cycle, you will be learning more about this aspect, and there will be much of the quickening to help you to be of the awakening nature and be of the realizing nature that this is of the truthness that we are being of the speaking. This is much of the excitement.
Thank you so much, Ameed, for your wisdom, your
Mm,
guidance. I'm sending you
mm,
so much gratitude and so much love.
much of the love, much of the joy, much of the love. Oh, hello there. Oh,
Welcome back, Marcus.
thank you.
How are you
How did we
feeling?
go? I'm good. I feel
Good.
good. Yeah,
How
I
does the
always get
body
warm. I
our
get
body feel?
hot. We were talking about being cold here in Melbourne this morning. Now I'm like, oh my God, I need to take a top off.
Like if you can put that
I
heater
always
on.
get really hot. I know. I always get really hot. Well, not hot, just warm, like I don't know. It's not like a hot as in, when you've been running or sweating or anything. It's just a real warmness. It's kind of nice.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah,
So, yeah, how
interesting.
was it?
Good, good. So we talked about because in my meditation this morning, the word discipline kept coming up, and I just wanted to clarify how we can be disciplined and in a flow state at the same time.
Mm,
And what Ameed said is we just need to replace the word discipline with the word awareness.
mm,
It's
yeah,
not about
yeah.
discipline. It's not about forcing ourselves to do something. It's about being aware of where we are
Mm,
sending our focus and attention.
mm, that's interesting. Because one would think that your natural way of being would want to be to sort of be disciplined or be in the awareness of things that are positive and good and whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like in a lot of cases, that's where you'd want to be, isn't it?
I don't think you want to be there until a habit's
No, maybe
formed.
not.
So
Yeah,
when I
okay.
think about some of the things I used to do and how I used to live,
Totally.
like
Totally.
there has to be discipline to begin with to
Mm,
change that habit before you know that that's not
mm,
something I would ever do again.
mm,
But there has to be that discipline first. But
mm,
what Amit said is just take away the word discipline. Instead, let's be
mm,
aware of the things that we're giving our attention to and our focus to and
mm,
observe that and then decide where you want to give your awareness to, where you want to give your focus
mm,
to.
mm. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think then you have the ability to decide, right? Decide and discern maybe where
Yeah.
you give that to. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing she spoke about last year, and I know coming into this year, is this sort of concept of consciousness technology. She uses the
Mm.
word technology to help me sort of move towards it because I love tech. It's not really a technology per se, right? Um, but it is about learning how to harness the power that we have within our consciousness, and we just don't
Mm.
realize it. We have no idea
No.
just how
No.
much amazingness we have sitting there.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
so anything's possible. That's good.
Anything is
Yay.
possible. Yay. Thank you so much for bringing through that wisdom and that
Oh,
guidance.
my pleasure.
And
Thank you.
for those of you watching, and like this friend of Marcus's that was watching but never said that they were watching, please, please like, subscribe, comment so
Yeah,
that we
please.
can get these very important messages out.
That would be great. Love to hear your comments and yeah, love to answer any questions you have about any of the aspects that we talk about or anything. Yeah, we'd love to. So, yay. Thank you, Eleni.
Bye.
Thank you. See you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.